Good evening. This work session of the Board of Education of the Cleveland Municipal School District will come to order. Mr. Stockdale, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Ellicott?
Here.
Mr. Billups?
Here.
Mr. Briggs?
Here.
Ms. Jones?
Here.
Pastor Jones?
Here.
Mrs. LeBron?
Here.
Mrs. Peak?
Here.
Dr. Sridhar? Mrs. Welchow? There are 7 members present.
Thank you. I'd ask everyone who wishes to rise and participate in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The chair will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the board business meeting of May 20th, 2025.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. Next, I'm pleased to introduce our CEO, Dr. Morgan, for this evening's CEO report.
Thank you, Chair Ellicott. Well, we are here in June, and another year is over, so it's the time of celebrations, and we have about a week more of graduations to go. It's been so many celebrations this year. Next week's, the next board meeting we have at our business session, I'll not only just share some updates on our class of 2025 and some of the highlights from our graduating class, but we'll also share some of our academic data, which is another year of promising data of growth in both ELA and math. So really excited to share where our scholars and how they performed on this year's Ohio State test, some of our preliminary data, and we're thankful for all of our educators for the work that they've done to have that continued growth. And we'll keep up the good work. As we've been saying, next year we're going to just continue to level up the work. Before I go into my report for this evening, we started out this evening with some other celebrations, and we had over 150 of our members of our CMSD family, staff members, retire this year, who will be retiring at the end of this year. And we had over 40 of them join us for a small dinner, a small token of appreciation for all that they've done and their collective wisdom. And we just would like to recognize some of those members. Most of them have gone home for the evening, but we do have a few of them that are here. If they would stand and actually come to the front and be recognized, they can shake each of our board members' hands. We did have Ms. Peak, we had Mr. Billups, and also Ms. Jones there. But thank you for your years of service.
Congratulations. Thanks.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for everything. Thank you. I love my
Thank you. Thank you for everything. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Get a picture of everybody together.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations and thank you.
And then we're going to try and get a picture right up front.
Thank you.
So come back and say thank you.
Congratulations and thank you. I know, I was holding this water bottle. I know. I don't want him to get warm.
Okay. Everybody can say CMSD. CMSD. Perfect. Thank you.
For all of our retirees, feel free if you need to exit, you can. But thank you for your service. With that said, we have a couple of other updates. At one of our last board meetings, we shared a financial upgrade that our district received for our continued due diligence around our finance and our great stewardship that we've done to just be a great steward not only of our taxpayer dollars, but also of the dollars that are within our system and how we're managing it. And I mentioned before that our finance team have been doing recent presentations with some of the credit bureaus around our finances, and we at our last meeting mentioned that we received an upgrade from S&P and also the review of Moody's. We just had a review of Fitch and also received another upgrade from A- to A. So would love to give our finance team a round of applause of the work of Chief Kevin Stockdale and everyone really within CMSD, because if it wasn't for our due diligence around our protocols, our continued laser focus on our 5-year forecast and really making sure that we're planning ahead for the future, we would not be seeing these upgrades. So we'll continue to keep up the good work. As I shared before, watch us work. As you can continue to see as we do this work, you'll continue to see our finances and our expenses decreasing. Next, I would like to bring up our Chief External Affairs Officer, Chief Farmer Cole, who has a couple of updates of us recently in the news.
Thank you, Dr. Morgan. Good evening, Chair Ellicott, and to the board. It is always our intent in the External Affairs Division to share the positive stories about what is happening in the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. And so as an effort in the communications department, spearheaded by our new communications officer, John Benedict, we have been sharing a multitude of stories with the media and wanted to take this opportunity to share them with you and the community. We have a lot going on with our commencement exercises, and at our next board meeting, we will bring you a lot of positive stories about those. But for this evening, we wanted to highlight 3 stories that were recently in the news. The first story is about Natividad Pagan, and the refugee coordinator there had conversations with many of the families who were coming into our country, and they shared about their need for bikes. And as a refugee himself, he had worked with an organization called Joseph House. It is a nonprofit, and the nonprofit was able to bring 80 bikes to the students at Natividad Pagan. So we wanted to share that story. We'll have a link for you so you can read it. Next, we wanted to highlight getting into our STEM curriculum. Our first graders worked with Fox 8 meteorologist Alexis Walters, and they were able to infuse their science lesson with weather. And it was very exciting for our first graders. That one actually happened to be on the news. And then finally, when we think about doing the work, as Dr. Morgan talked about, in regards to the 3rd grade reading guarantee, Charles Dickens launched an initiative in 2020 called Dickens Reads. And so many volunteers come to their schools to help propel this work forward in support of our scholars. So again, these will be active links in the board doc that you can read and for our community to read as well. And then there's one more highlight. Dr. Morgan, I'm not sure if you wanted me to share, but I can. Yep. I actually had a great conversation that this is a nice segue into Dr. Florence's presentation about college and career readiness. We wanted to highlight the fact that many of our students, our 11th and 12th grade scholars, were celebrated by the multilingual department in earning their seal of biliteracy. So 11th and 12th graders who show proficiency in 2 or more languages, we saw a 37% increase from last year. And this helps to support our goal of increasing college and career readiness. And that was a total of 92 students who earned this seal this year. So we're really proud of our students. We're really proud of the narrative that we are continuing to push out to share the positive stories of CMSD. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Farmer Cole. And as we said, next at our next board meeting, we'll share more on the graduation updates. But it's been so great to see our students who've earned their seal of biliteracy. They have their stoles on, and so many of our graduates this year earning their credentials. At this time, I'll bring up our Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Selena Florence, who's going to give an update on our college and career College and career workforce and military, I'll get it, our new readiness measure. A couple of things before Dr. Florence shares this. One of the things we talked about last year, our district celebrated our first 3-star rating, and that was due to the hard work of our educators, years of progress, and also just the work that we've been doing in this past year to see academic gains. Though this year is another year where we have strong academic gains, and we're going to show that in both ELA and math, particularly in our high schools. We're really proud of some of those gains, double-digit proficiency. The new standard that's going to be on the state report card this year is our college and career readiness. And so we already know that there's a lagging measure, and we will receive a 1-star rating for this. I've been sharing this all year. It's a new measure, and it's something that can impact what our overall state report card rating is going to be. So this is one of the things we have our eye on. Even though we've been seeing lots of growth in measures, we need to do some work really around our pathways. And this is also a board goal of ours, making sure that we have college readiness and that we're providing pathways. So we're ready to do the work, but I'm also excited to hear from Dr. Florence around not only our current state, but some of the work we're doing for the future state.
So good evening, Dr. Morgan, board members, and guests. Tonight, I will provide you with an overview of the college, career, workforce, and military readiness component of our Ohio State Report Card. So a roadmap for our presentation. The goal is to provide the board with information about the specific component of our report card. We will go over an overview of the component. We'll talk about some student scenarios that we'll walk through. We'll look at our current data and talk about next steps we are working towards improvement. The takeaways for this session is to understand how students can demonstrate post-secondary readiness as they graduate from our CMSD high schools. So as Dr. Morgan just shared, this work is directly tied to our goals and guardrails, specifically the goal 3 around college readiness, and also tied to the guardrail that's aligned to opportunity that speaks to career preparation. So this is linked directly to the work we're doing to meet the goals that have been set for us in alignment with the guardrails that guide our work. So the college, career, workforce, and military readiness component is intended to measure how prepared our graduating class is for post-secondary education, entering the workforce, or joining the armed forces. As Dr. Morgan shared, this is the first year that this measure will be included in our district report card. It is a lagging measure, so the data on the report card for this year will reflect the graduation cohort from last year, 2024. The readiness of a graduating class is estimated by calculating the number of students in the 4-year graduation cohort who engage in one or more of these experiences. There are 11 different pathways a student may take to show post-secondary readiness. As you can see, they are listed there on the screen. These include college readiness measures like the ACT or SAT scores, career readiness through credentialing or technical assessments, and military enlistment. This broad definition ensures that students have multiple paths to show they are ready for life after high school. The pathways fall into 3 main categories. You see college, career, and military. So under the college pathway, as I just said, that could be ACT or SAT scores that are showing readiness. Students could also earn 12 or more college credits. Under the career pathway, that looks like students earning 12 industry credential points or completing a pre-apprenticeship or apprenticeship. For military readiness, students must provide evidence or verification of official enlistment in any military branch. All students need to show just one of these readiness measures to count as ready for our district report card. So they could fall into any category, but they just have to show readiness in one of these measures. So the state calculates readiness by dividing the total number of students in the graduation cohort who meet at least one indicator by the total number of students in the 4-year graduation cohort. This gives them the college, career, workforce, and military readiness percentage for our district. So this is the previous way that the report card was calculated. So this is how it looked before this year. Last year, college, career, workforce, military readiness was not a part of the report card calculation. This shows you how our report card score was previously calculated using the 5 components that are shown in blue and green. So achievement, progress had the most weight, and then also included in the report card score was our graduation rate, gap closing, and early literacy. For this year, that has changed. So beginning in this year, you see on the right-hand side, on the far right, the college, career, workforce, and military readiness component has been added. It now accounts for 12.5% of our report card score. The other 5 components remain there, but the weights have changed slightly to account for the addition of the college, career, workforce, and military readiness component. So in summary, this component is intended to measure how prepared our students are for post-secondary readiness. That means how prepared they are for the workforce, how prepared they are for college, how prepared they are to join the armed forces. The readiness of the class is estimated by calculating the number of students in the graduation cohort who engage in one or more of these experiences. So we do have students who engage in more than one. And there are 11 different ways for students to demonstrate post-secondary readiness, and we saw those on the slide before. So we have some scenarios for you, board members and audience and guests. We have some baseball cards for you as well. So on each of the baseball cards, you will see a student, and you will see a little bit about that student that tells you about their high school experience. So your task for this activity is to use the information that was just shared to determine if this student is truly ready for post-secondary life after high school. So you have, board members, I think you have 2 students. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to talk to a neighbor about what you see there. Audience members will pass some out to you as well, so you can have some fun while we are looking to determine how ready these kids are for post-secondary. So take a few minutes, board members, discuss with your partner, what do you think? And we'll come back to you in just a moment.
It's okay.
Audience, are you ready? You have your answers? Okay. All right, let's talk about student A. So you see that student A attends the Cleveland School of Science and Medicine, and student A earned the following scores listed below on the SAT. He took 3 AP courses and assessments, and you see the scores listed there for student A. So did you think student A was college, career, workforce, or military ready? Oh, I heard a yes, I heard a no, I heard yes. Board members? Okay. Ms. Peak, you're exactly right. He is not military ready. We can mark that one off. So while this student did take the SAT, their readiness score for math is not quite where it needs to be. So for readiness score for math, they should have a 530. So he had a 500, so he's not too far away. He did take the 3 AP courses that he should have taken. He scored a 3 on one of those, but a readiness score is a 3 or above. So to be ready, he would have to have scored 3 on all 3 of them, a 3 or above on all 3 of them. So this student is not college, career, workforce, military readiness ready. All right, student B. attends Max Hayes High School. She earned the Ohio Means Job Readiness Seal. She earned the CTE Honors Diploma, and she also earned 12 industry-recognized credential points in information technology. I heard she's ready. We agree she's ready?
She's ready.
She is ready. She is ready in multiple ways. The honors diploma, the Ohio Means Jobs Readiness Seal, and also earning the 12 industry credential points. So she is, in fact, ready in multiple ways. That's right. Check that one off, Ms. Fig. All right. Student C attends John Marshall School of Civic and Business. She earned the following scores, the scores listed below on the SAT. She also earned a Social Science and Civic Engagement Honors Diploma. She took 3 AP courses and 3 assessments, and you see her scores down below. Is she college, career, workforce, and military ready? Audience? Earning that honors diploma ensures that she is college, career, workforce, and military ready. So even though she did not have the appropriate scores on the SAT, she did not have the appropriate scores on the AP, she has an honors diploma, so she is ready. And there are 6 different honors diplomas that kids could potentially earn. All right, our final student attends Ginn Academy. He completed a pre-apprenticeship, earned 9 industry-recognized credential points in information technology, and also enlisted in the military. Is he college, career, workforce, military ready? Absolutely, in more than one way. The pre-apprenticeship ensures that he is ready, and also enlisting in the military also ensures that he is ready. So as you can see, there are multiple entry points for students to be able to show readiness, and many of our students are engaged in multiple entry points, but our job is to make sure they're passing their AP assessments, passing or getting and earning a college-ready score for the SAT to make sure that we are preparing them for to meet the goals that have been outlined for us by the state. So here is our current data. So this is where we are for this report card that's coming up that you've heard Dr. Morgan speak about. It represents the data from the graduating class of 2024 and represents the number of 2024 graduates that met the college, career, workforce, and military readiness indicator. You see the data for each category. So for the 11 categories that we could potentially earn readiness in, you see those 11 categories listed there. It's important to note that students may show up in more than one category. The data presented in the total column, which is in orange, represents the unduplicated numbers for the entire cohort. Some measures, like military enlistment, you see those down on the left-hand side, and apprenticeship enrollment had no participation reported, indicating areas of growth for us as a district. So because our total score is less than 53%, our total score is 35.65, we are only earning 1 star for this component for this report card that we're about to receive. So here are some next steps for us. This is obviously an area of improvement and an area that we have to do better in ensuring that our students are prepared for what happens after high school. So some of the things that we are doing and have done in this current school year. So one of the areas of growth for us is we did not have a consistent way for schools to report their data to us. And so one of our areas we've worked on this year is setting up clear structures and systems for schools to be able to turn in their data to show which kids are ready. And so we have consistent ways for collecting that data now and ensuring that schools are getting that to us in a timely manner. We also are going to work on progress monitoring, measures that we can throughout the school year. So some of these measures we only get reporting one time, and so we can't really progress monitor them. But there are some that we can work on looking at the data throughout the course of the school year, and so that is the next step for us. Also providing support to schools will look a lot of different ways. First of all, for our CTE courses, we're developing district-wide curriculum supports for those courses, which is something that we have not previously had. So being able to provide them with curriculum documents that outline a scope and sequence, pacing, will support those teachers as they are delivering that curriculum. Also providing additional training and support for our AP and IB teachers to ensure that they are prepared to teach those courses at high levels, and also support students with taking and passing the assessments. Supporting schools with scheduling to ensure that students are being able to access honors diplomas. So some of our schools have not had the correct courses or sequenced them in the correct way, and so that's prevented some students from earning an honors diploma. And so we're working with schools to ensure they're scheduling the correct courses so that more students have access to that diploma, those diplomas. Also supporting schools with adding SAT prep during the school day. And so there have been students who have taken advantage of SAT prep outside of the school day, but ensuring that there is time built into the schedule so that students can actually prep and prepare for the SAT while they're with us during school. And also continuing to build the capacity of school leaders, teachers, and counselors. So this is a new component, and so it's been a learning journey for many of our counselors, many of our teachers, and also our school leaders of what is being counted, what's not counted, how to actually earn points for this particular component. And so we are committed to ensuring that we're building the capacity of all of us, all of our teams, as we're working to improve this particular measure. So what questions do you have?
Questions from board members? Ms. Jones?
I'm just curious, is it possible that there's data that just hasn't been collected?
Absolutely. So in previous years, as I said, the systems were not put in place to be able to collect all of the data that we should have. And so principals were able to say to us, no, we had kids enroll in the military, but we did not collect that data in the correct way. And so that is why you saw that as the next step. We've been working throughout this year to align and ensure that for each of those 11 different ways that kids can show readiness, we have outlined for them specific deadlines, specific structures, how you collect the data, where you turn it in, and when it should be turned in. Absolutely. So you're right. You were absolutely right, Ms. Jones. It has not, some of the data was not collected appropriately.
Ms. Peak?
How does the current ROTC programs in our school, what is their role in helping you to collect that data?
So ROTC is a work in progress for us. It is a true growth area. We received an email a few weeks ago from one of our ROTC programs that has saw some good growth this year and saw some students who actually earned some recognition for their work. But we do not have that. ROTC is not system-wide as it should be, in my opinion. And so it is a work in progress for us to be able to, number one, establish those programs in more of our high schools, but also to ensure that they are helping us to collect that information so we have it on file.
Thank you.
That one is as simple as a document that is signed. They submit to us to verify that they've enrolled in the military.
Yeah, and one thing I would add, one of the things we talked about through our Building Brighter Futures, we have so many programs in our schools, and there's different things we offer and have offered for years, but without the intentionality of where it leads or actually a credential. So now you're seeing the data. I've been sharing this for a while that we don't have students that are actually leaving with us with a credential or something that's earned. It's not anything that we are getting point to recognize for, but then also it's not a way that we could actually track to see where students are, that they're set up for success for post-secondary. And so the work we're doing around Building Brighter Futures is really making sure we have intentionality around programs and not just having programs so that kids have an experience. That's good that we want kids to have an experience, but if it's not leading them to anywhere, they can't graduate with us from CMSD and can go anywhere with that. That's our job to make sure they're set up for success. And so that's a big part of the work we're doing around Building Brighter Futures and our board goal.
Great.
I just have a comment. I believe that this is the 4th time the report card has changed in my time on the board. So, and perhaps some of our media guests would know more, or Signal could do a report on it, I'm wondering. But I know it's changed a lot. And just want to commend you, Dr. Morgan, for flagging this change to the board early and to the community, and Dr. Florence, the work you're doing to get on top of it, to create a process for collecting the data early, I think is really important. So I'm really glad to see it early on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Dr. Florence. And that's my report.
Thank you, Dr. Morgan. This evening, we have 44 resolutions in the areas of Board of Education, Finance, Operations, Academics, Information Technology, and Excellence and Culture that will be presented to the board for discussion only. The board will be asked to consider the adoption of these resolutions at our June 24th board business meeting. I will present the first 3 Board of Education resolutions. 5.01. Adopting the Cleveland Public Library tax budget for fiscal year 2025 and transmitting to the Cuyahoga County Budget Commission. Under state law, the CMSD Board of Education serves as the taxing authority and appointing authority of the Cleveland Public Library. In our role as taxing authority, the Board of Education is required to take certain actions on behalf of the Cleveland Public Library. One such action is the adoption of the library's tax budget. The 2026 tax budget documents the library's need to receive revenue from tax sources to cover the estimated expenditures for the budget year. This is a routine resolution that the Board of Education adopts each June. It's important to note that this tax budget is not the library's operating budget. This is simply a tax budget that the Board of Education has a role in. However, the Board of Education does not have any role in the library's operating budget. Under Ohio law, a tax budget is a financial plan for a political subdivision's operations for the next calendar year. It identifies how much money is expected from local, state, and federal sources, the anticipated carryover fund balances, and how much is needed to carry out governmental functions in the next calendar year. The tax budget is submitted to the County Budget Commission and used to fix property tax rates in the political subdivision. The adoption of the Cleveland Public Library's tax budget is not a discretionary act by the Board of Education, but rather specifically required by Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.28b. I know that we have some representatives from the Public Library here today. We have Director Felton Thomas, Chief Financial Officer Carrie Kranicki, Board of Trustees President Maritza Rodriguez, and Trustee Melanie Shakarian. Is there any comment from you, Ms. Kranicki, or Director Thomas, or anyone else?
I don't have any comments. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions from board members? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Dr. Morgan, any comment? All right. Next is 5.02, adopting a policy promoting parental involvement. Ohio House Bill 8, which was adopted by the state legislature in December 2024 and signed by the governor in January 2025, requires boards of education to adopt a policy to promote parental involvement in the public school system. This legislation, codified in Ohio Revised Code Section 3313.473, specifies that such a policy must provide for the following. 1, ensure that any sexuality content as defined as any oral or written instruction, presentation, image, or description of sexual concepts or gender ideology provided in a classroom setting is age appropriate and developmentally appropriate for the age of the student. 2, promptly notify a student's parent of any substantial change in the student's services, including counseling services or monitoring related to the student's mental, emotional, or physical health or well-being, or the school's ability to provide a safe and supportive learning environment for the student. 3, prohibit school district personnel from directly or indirectly encouraging a student to withhold from a parent information concerning the student's mental, emotional, or physical health or well-being, or a change in related services or monitoring. 4, adopt a procedure to obtain authorization from parents prior to providing any type of health care service to the student, including physical, mental, and behavioral health care services. And 5, permit a parent to file with the school principal or assistant principal a written concern regarding any topic addressed in this section. Boards of education are required to adopt this policy no later than July 1st, 2025. Are there any questions from board members? Next is 5. Yes, Dr. Sridhar, welcome.
My apologies for being late. I'll blame traffic on I-71 from Columbus. Dr. Morgan, at our last board meeting during public session, there were, I believe, 3 or 4 people that commented specifically on this piece of legislation. Would you mind commenting on whether those comments had any impact and how the policy as presented in front of us responds to some of those as well?
Yes, we did. We always follow up and give responses to all of our members when, or anyone who comes to do public comment. And those comments were specifically really around making sure students are seen, heard, valued, and really our values as a system. You know, one of our core values as a system is, you know, inclusion, making sure we have equity and inclusion, and that's still at the heart of what we do, making sure everyone is seen, heard, and valued. This bill and the intention behind the state's policy around this is really making sure that parents have a voice in that choice. And so we welcome parent voice and choice, and that, you know, in no means or any thing or you know, any content or anything like that put in front of kids without parents, you know, allowing that, but at the same time allowing parents to have choice and voice when there are certain aspects of student identity that they will also want to be valued and seen in the curriculum. So those are things we're going to be working on. There's also a work in progress. This is new for our system as well as the entire state. And so this policy allows us to know that we have a policy. There are also some administrative guidelines that we're working on as a system to see how it's implemented. But the heart of what we're doing is making sure that all kids are seen, heard, valued, that they feel like they are, there's a place where they belong, and that they have adults that they can go to as advocates and allies.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Specifically, your comment about making sure that all students feel seen and belong. Thank you.
Dr. Morgan, you said something and I just wanted to clarify. It's not necessarily that all content that goes before a student needs to be allowed by a parent, but that parents have the opportunity to know that certain types of content are being provided or services. Mm-hmm. Okay. Next is 5.03, authorizing a professional services agreement between Julian and Grube and the Board of Education of the Cleveland Municipal School District for internal audit services. Both state law and board policy provide that the Board of Education may appoint an internal auditor who reports directly to the board. While in past years the board has employed a full-time internal auditor, in 2024 the board determined that contracting with a CPA firm for internal audit services was the more prudent and efficient way at that time to ensure that the necessary internal audit function is adequately and independently performed. The board then entered into a one-year contract with Julian and Grube for internal audit services. With the adoption of this resolution, the board will be authorizing the renewal of that contract with Julian and Grube for another year through June 30th, 2026. Are there any questions from board members? All right, Dr. Morgan, could you please present the remaining 42 resolutions?
Yes, we have a lot of them tonight. Yes, and we have a lot of them tonight, but it is the end of the year, so this is typical for many of our annual resolutions. So the next 15 are finance resolutions. 6.01, authorizing final appropriation adjustments to the fiscal year 2025 annual appropriation measure, and 6.02, adopting the school year 25-26 annual appropriation measure. This is our budget. At this time, I would like to invite our Chief Financial Officer, Kevin Stockdale, up to share a little bit more about the highlights of the 25-26 budget.
I have fewer than 40 slides tonight, so we should be in good shape. Thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about this. And as I always do, I like to lay a little bit of the groundwork for what is the regulatory context here, just to remind ourselves. And so I brought to you the 5-year forecast. That is the twice annual document that is really a long-term planning document. The budget is required to be adopted really over the summer, leading into the academic year. And it's done where we make appropriations for all funds, basically. We also make an adjustment at the end of the fiscal year for appropriations. So an example would be instances where we receive a grant that has been approved by the board. We make those all in one adjustment at the end of the year. And then, of course, there's information that I shared, and for anyone who's watching online as well, there's a link in here to our monthly financial status update, which is given to everybody, which covers the general fund and other funds. The timeline every 2 years for the operating budget is really confusing. And so I wanted to just take a minute on this because every 2 years we have to make our budget at the same time the state is making their budget. And so this year We really began a lot of the budget work over the winter. The governor actually introduced his budget for the state February 3rd, and then just a week later, we had already started on work with school budgets. And that was, I brought to you before, actually, Ms. Frew brought to you the student budgeting formula. That was that work. In March, we had, we submitted testimony. I submitted testimony on behalf of the district in favor of some changes with the state operating budget that would help school districts like ours. In April, the House passed their version of the budget, which was quite different from the governor's version, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. And then you approved the alternative tax budget. May, we again provided written testimony, this time before the Senate, and the Senate introduced their own version this month as well, and then we expect that the state will pass their budget by June 30th. A couple of high-level notes, and some of these I'm including because these are topics we've talked about before that I think are perhaps important to the board. One is federal aid, and what do we know and what don't we know right now about federal aid. So the first thing is that this will be the first fiscal year since 20 that we don't have any ARP ESSER funds. We had a small amount last year because it ran through September of last year. Those are all gone, so that $465 million grant program is over. The federal government, though, is contemplating changes to federal funding for grants, and so the administration introduced their budget in May. The two most important programs for us are Title I, which is for students experiencing poverty, and then special education. Both of those programs remain intact in the federal government's proposal. However, there are several other grants that affect us significantly. So Title II, Title III, McKinney-Vento, those are teacher quality, English language learners, and then homelessness. And the federal government's proposal is to take all those different grant programs and put them into one together that they would give out to states, but that they would make significantly less funding available. So from $5.7 billion to $2 billion. With that being said, we have planned in this budget on what we received in grants from the current year. We will actually get our information for grants most likely before I come back to you on the 24th. So we can report back what we actually receive. And then the great news is that we had a successful bond sale, and we have the money to proceed with the building program that we discussed and that voters approved. So the state budget implications, three different versions of the state budget. They're in order, so the governor's version, the House passed version, and the current Senate version. What I really want to draw your attention to here are there's some legislative priorities that are written at the bottom, and these are the areas that are really important to all school districts, but have a significant impact, especially on CMSD. Right now in the Senate version, they are maintaining the Fair School Funding Plan. That is an improvement from the House version. We are asking that they either update the cost inputs or keep the existing property and income values. Neither the House, Senate, or the governor's version has that on their in a bill right now, but we are asking for that. It doesn't make sense that they would expect us to continue to go off of old cost impacts, and then at the same time treating us, looking at how much we're receiving in property taxes. We want to maintain guarantees, as I talked about at the 5-year forecast. We are a guarantee district for the time being, and that is in part because the state is not increasing their funding for schools. And then really the need to reform funding for students experiencing poverty. And the good news is that the Senate version did include a provision for that. I don't have a lot of information on the exact impacts of any of these things yet, but I'd be happy to try to answer any questions at the end. We've also implemented a number of cost savings measures, which you're aware of, but for the community, Of course, we had the deficit reduction plan that we did last February, and that included really the non-school directed budgets, reductions there, cut in positions, and then executive salary freezes. We continued those forward into May and showed a 5-year forecast and budget that included further reductions. Over the summer, we introduced restrictions on contracting, food, travel, and these were really, especially the food and travel, they're small parts of our budget, but we recognize that they're highly visible, and so we wanted to send the right message there. This spring, we refreshed the school-based budgets, really to focus on access to programming and equity. Last month, you approved the calendar consolidation proposal, which carries forward, and then we will be introducing further restrictions really on travel and a general prohibition on purchasing food for the coming year for central office. Looking at the budget over the last few years, this is a very distorted look. The brown box is that ARP ESSER money that I was talking about, and it really distorted our budget. What you're seeing from last year to this year is that our overall budget is decreasing by 1%. So very much a flat budget, but no really significant changes there. Not increasing in and of itself is a good thing because we have areas that are increasing that we cannot control, and so it means that we are controlling the areas that we can control to limit the overall impact. We also know that we want to align our budget and prioritize to the board's goals and guardrails, and while we were deep into the budget process this year, by the time goals were finalized, there were a number of things that we did that were very closely aligned to the goals. And so, for instance, I'm not going to read all of these, but English language arts, a perfect example of that is that the student-based budgeting proposal that was implemented this year reduced the class size caps for the early grades. And so that is a tactic or a strategy directly aligned to that goal. See items for Algebra 1 as well as college readiness. And then within the guardrails, the one I would highlight here is on the safety side. So there were some areas where we were able to make reductions. So for instance, the CEO and Chief of Staff's office, there was a 42% reduction in the non-personnel budget. Finance, legal, both had 5% reductions. But safety is a perfect example where there was not a reduction in that budget, and there should not have been, because we were doing these things. We were investing in the student badging project and improving our student learning survey, or our conditions for learning survey, and then the adult wellness programs really to support our educators. So working to align there and really to build in the future so that we're more tightly aligned. I also just want to be clear and preview that as we come on the next fiscal year, we're going to start budget planning early this year, and it's going to have to include reductions. And we've talked about that at some level of detail, but really we need to continue building on those reductions that we've already made that were implemented. We are working on a staffing analysis that would include central office. There's a lot of people who are interested in that. And we want to make sure that we have the right size office with the right types of classifications to do the work that we need to do. And so we're going to be working on that. We'll have a report out this summer. We also want to focus on the context of the goals and guardrails and building brighter futures. We know that potentially that could look different, and so the central office could look different as well to support schools' needs. And then looking at how do we benchmark against our peers, really, for spending? So yeah, like I said, building brighter futures. So that's the work that's coming up this year. Be happy to answer any questions.
Dr. Sridhar.
Thank you, Mr. Stockdale, for the detailed presentation. I know you said you weren't able to answer all questions about the budget, and I understand that, but I still want to ask a couple questions to talk through some of those things. If you can go back to that slide. So I have two or three questions. One, when we talk about the bullet point, that one. The fourth bullet point under your legislative priorities, when you talk about poverty funding, can you say just at the yes or no level, when you say direct certification in the Senate amended version, is that what would benefit us as a district? And if so, just at a high level, what would that look like?
I'm glad I've been able to answer more than just yes or no.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, it would. Direct certification means that we're actually counting kids who are in poverty.
Great.
And that would actually fund the kids that need the funding, which would be us.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. Can you talk about the guarantees? And I know you had a slide in your presentation from 2 weeks ago, but just to refresh my memory as well as the public's memory, what specifically does that mean? And what would the governor's budget have done? And now, if we're saying 100% of this in the Senate amendment version, what is the impact for us?
Sure. So the guarantees have been in the school funding formula for at least the last 30 years that I'm aware of, and they're designed so that when the state changes their funding formula, it doesn't pull the rug out from underneath any of the districts. The guarantees are also helpful for districts that are losing enrollment or where property values are increasing, even though districts don't receive additional funding typically from that. So what's happening is the state is not increasing the amount that they're providing to us. We are a guaranteed district because we have slowly decreasing enrollment. We do have increasing property values. And so we're on this protection to make sure that nothing, that we don't drop below basically the 2021 funding level. What the difference would be is there's an amount, and I can't tell you off the top of my head, but of guarantees that we would receive each year. And in the governor's version, we would reduce by 5% the first year, and then 5% more. In the House and the Senate version, the guarantees are fully funded, so there's no reduction.
Great, thank you. Last question is about the cash carryover. I know that when you present your 5-year plans, there is always there are 2 lines that you ask us to pay attention to. One is the portion that talks about the current year, and then there is a carryover line. What impact would either version of the budget, whether it's the House passed or the Senate passed, have on our 5-year forecast?
It would have no impact.
Okay, because our carryovers are usually less than either of those 2 numbers, is that correct?
Correct. I think we're between 25 and 28% this year.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Billups.
Thank you, Mr. Stockdale. I did just want to mention, not necessarily really a question, but I did want to mention that when we talk about our budget, we talk about our values and how our student outcomes is most important. And so to have that incorporated, in mindset of our budget is really important. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very much a work in progress, but work to be done this year for sure.
Thank you, Chiefs. Thanks. 6.03, authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to pay all required out-of-district tuition costs. With this annual resolution, the board will authorize the administration to pay out-of-district tuition costs for fiscal year 25, which are estimated to be $30 million. 6.04, delegating authority to the CEO to enter into contracts and purchase orders for amounts up to and including $50,000 for fiscal year 26. With this routine annual resolution, the board will delegate authority to the CEO to enter into contracts and purchase orders for amounts up to and including $50,000 for fiscal year 26. 6.05, authorizing payment to Fifth Third Bank for the district's credit cards and procurement cards in an amount not to exceed $5 million for fiscal year 26. With this resolution, the board will authorize payments to Fifth Third Bank for expenses made on district-issued credit cards and procurement cards, P-cards. The P-card program has been in place since 2013, and it enables approved staff, usually principals, to purchase items costing $500 or less using a district-issued P-card rather than issuing a purchase order. 6.06, authorizing payment of charges incurred for utility costs by the Cleveland Municipal School District for fiscal year 25-26 in an amount not to exceed $17 million. With this resolution, the board will authorize the encumbrance and payment of utility expenses incurred for 25-26. The annual estimates for utilities, gas, water, sewage, electricity, others are included as part of the annual budget appropriations. The Finance and Operations Departments will work collaboratively to oversee utility spending, including supervising rate negotiations, monitoring usage, identifying opportunities for improvements, forecasting, and trend analysis. 6.07, authorizing the distribution of resources to partnering community schools pursuant to Issue 68 and Issue 49. This is a routine semi-annual resolution under the Cleveland Plan legislation adopted by the state legislature in 2012, consistent with Issue 68 tax levy approved by the voters in 2020 and the Issue 49 tax levy approved in 2024. Our district distributes our local property tax dollars equal to 1.5 mils from the use from Issue 68 and another 0.5 mils from Issue 49 to our 8 partnering community or charter schools. With this resolution, the board will be authorizing that the distribution of those partnering community schools of 2.0 mils based on all local property taxes received from January 1 through December 31st, 2025. 6.08, authorizing the use of frequent flyer miles for official district travel for fiscal year 25-26. With this resolution, the board will authorize the use of the flyer miles accrued by the district for employee travel. The CFO will be responsible for accounting for the use of the miles to offset district costs for authorized travel. Because this is a new process, this is being brought as an annual resolution. In future years, we may seek to either renew the resolution or build in a practice. 6.09, authorizing the acceptance of gifts and grants from Cuyahoga County, Martha Holden Jennings Foundation, and the Ohio Education Outreach Foundation, and authorizing the CEO to spend the funds in accordance with the terms and conditions of the grant. With this resolution, the board will be accepting the following gifts and grants and authorizing the CEO to spend these gifts and grants in accordance with the terms and conditions of the gifts and grants. From Cuyahoga County, a grant in the amount of $493,908.33 for the Closing the Achievement Gap Program, CTAG program. From Martha Holden Jennings Foundation, a gift in the amount of $3,000 for Hughes Hope Garden Project to create an outdoor learning space and cooking area focused for nutrition and healthy living. From the Ohio Education Outreach Foundation, a gift in the amount of $13,210 for the FIRST Robotics Program to assist with transportation costs for robotics competitions. 6.10, authorizing the CEO to procure student athletic insurance coverage from the period of June 30th, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 in an amount not to exceed $16,626. 6.11, authorizing the CEO to procure cyber risk insurance coverage from a period of June 30th, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 in an amount not to exceed $100,000. 6.12, authorizing the CEO to procure casualty and auto liability and excess insurance coverage for the period of June 30th, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 in an amount not to exceed $1,654,809. 6.13, authorizing the CEO to procure terrorism liability insurance coverage and deadly weapons coverage from a period of June 30th, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 in an amount not to exceed $105,149. 6.14, authorizing the CEO to procure medical professional liability insurance coverage for a period of June 30th, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 in an amount not to exceed $41,521. 6.15, authorizing the CEO to execute contracts for property, boiler, and machinery and crime insurance from a period of June 30th, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 in an amount not to exceed $1,186,231. Resolutions 6.10 through 6.15 are routine annual resolutions authorizing the purchase of necessary insurance coverage for school districts in the areas that you heard before, covering from athletics, cyber risk, security, as well as insurance coverage.
Questions from board members on the finance resolutions? Mr. Briggs.
I'm assuming that all of these resolutions are within our budget forecast, right?
Yes.
Okay, good, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, I had a question about the frequent flyer miles. I think that's great. How does that work?
Yeah, I'll bring Chief Stockdale up. This has been an annual routine, but he'll talk a little bit more about what that program is.
Yeah, thank you. So We have a travel agent that we utilize, Uniglobe, and when they make travel arrangements on behalf of staff, frequently they use Delta Airlines because of how many flights they have through Cleveland. And when they do, they have a district frequent flyer plan that all the miles accrue to that then we can use. We have just never actually, we've been accruing them, but we have never spent them. So we're at the point now where we'd like to use that.
Okay. Thank you.
Next, we have 11 operations resolutions. 7.01, authorizing the CEO to issue term agreements and supplier contracts to multiple suppliers for the transportation of special education Foster McKinney-Vento students and for the transportation of students attending non-public charter and community schools for the 25-26 school year in an amount not to exceed $16,854,000. There's an annual resolution that supports transportation of students via cab and van services to alternative locations and schools, both within and out of the district, that offer programs based on the students' individual education plans or as part of the McKinney-Vento Act for our homeless students. 7.02, authorizing the CEO to issue term agreements and purchase orders to multiple suppliers to provide parts and services and transportation in support of transportation maintenance for the 25-26 school year in an amount not to exceed $1.6 million. There's a routine annual resolution for parts and services that enables the Transportation Maintenance Department to repair and maintain a fleet of 300 school buses, along with many snowplows, vans, cars, light and heavy-duty trucks. 7.03, authorizing the CEO to issue a supplier contract to Education Logistics, Inc. for the yearly licensing fee for routing, GPS, and student tracking software in an amount not to exceed $372,912. This routine annual resolution renews a contract with Education Logistics to provide routing, GPS, and student tracking software licensing for the district's transportation fleet. 7.04, authorizing the CEO to issue term agreements and purchase orders in an amount not to exceed $1.8 million to suppliers awarded as a result of competitive solicitation issued by the Ohio Schools Council Cooperative Purchasing Consortia for the purchase of unleaded diesel and propane fuels to support transportation operations for the 25-26 school year. The district utilizes different fuels for this fleet of vehicles, including school buses, trucks, vans, and cars. There's a routine annual resolution and enables the purchase of that fuel. 7.05, authorizing the CEO to issue a supplier contract to Identiphoto for the student badging project. You heard Chief Stockdale talk about that earlier, aligned to our safety, and it's not to exceed $200,000. This resolution supports the implementation of a district-wide comprehensive and multifunctional student badging system for all students in pre-K-12. Identiphoto will be responsible for the design, configuration, and management of badge production. This includes creating the badge, template, and setting up of the data and photographs provided by the district. Badges will be printed and distributed through the Transportation Department to individual schools and supported by Safety and Security. This multifunctional badge system is expected to drive meaningful improvements by enhancing attendance tracking, optimizing bus, ridership, and transportation efficiency, streamlining school nutrition, program processes, and strengthening building security. 7.06, authorizing the opening and naming of newly constructed school buildings. This resolution authorizes the opening and naming of 2 newly constructed pre-K-8 school buildings that shall be open and operating at the beginning of the 25-26 school year. The newly constructed school building located at 6601 Franklin Boulevard shall be named Joseph M. Gallagher School, after the Cleveland Board of Education member who served on the board from 1947 until his death in 1988, and which was the name of the previous school located on this site since 1977. And the newly constructed school building located at 5412 Clark Avenue shall be named Clark School, which was the name of the previous schools located on or near this site since 1884. 7.07, authorizing the closing and consolidation of Walden School with the new Clark School at the end of the 24-25 school year and providing for the assignment of the students of the school for the 25-26 school year. Ohio law provides that the Board of Education may approve a resolution to close any school in its school district and shall then provide for the assignment of students attending said schools to such other schools named by the board. In November 2019, following a citywide analysis and extensive process of communication community engagement. This board adopted a long-term school plan for high schools and K-8 schools, addressing the building, renovating, and consolidating of schools, and closing of district schools. With this resolution, and consistent with the board adopted long-term school plan, the board will formally close Walton School and consolidating Walton within the nearby newly constructed Clark School at the start of the 25-26 school year. 7.08, authorizing the Board of Education of the Cleveland Municipal School District to enter into an agreement and to issue a supplier contract to the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority to provide transportation passes for district and non-public students on an as-needed basis for the 25-26 school year in an amount not to exceed $3.3 million. This routine annual resolution authorizes the Board of Education of the Cleveland Municipal School District to enter into an agreement with the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority for the 25-26 school year. The agreement allows for the provision of the student transportation passes on an as-needed basis for the district, for both district and eligible non-public school students in grades 9 through 12. 7.09, authorizing the extension of a lease with Montessori Development Partnerships for the Stonebrook Montessori School property from 2015 to 2015 to, I believe that is to say 2024 or 2025, where we are current, but we'll make sure we get that right for the record. Stonebrook Montessori School operated as a school community school sponsored by our school district. In 2020, the Board of Education entered into a memorandum of understanding with both Stonebrook Montessori and Montessori Development Partnerships as an Ohio nonprofit corporation which owns the real property where Stonebrook Montessori is located, providing for a merger of Stonebrook Montessori and Michael R. White School as a Cleveland Municipal School District school. Under the terms of that MOU, the merged school utilizes the buildings of both schools, which are located adjacent to each other at 1000 East 92nd Street and at 975 East Boulevard, respectively. In 2020, the Board of Education also entered into a lease whereby Montessori Development Partnership leases for the former Stonebrook Montessori School building and grounds to CMSD for $1 per year for a term of 5 years. With this resolution, the board will be extending that lease for an additional year through June 30th, 2026 for the same rent of $1 per year. 7.10, authorizing the extension of a lease and shared use agreement with Great Lakes Science Center for the use of the educational facilities for the 9th grade MC² STEM Academy for the 25-26 school year. Our school district has operated the 9th grade MC² STEM Academy at the Great Lakes Science Center since 2009 through a series of leases with Great Lakes Science Center. The current 2-year lease expires June 30th, 2025. With this resolution, the board will be extending the lease for an additional period of 1 year, ending June 30th, 2026, for the current rent amount of $16,000. The school district has the option to extend the lease for an additional year through June 30th, 2027, for the same terms and conditions. 7.11, authorizing the CEO or designee to issue a purchase order to Innovative Solutions Group, Inc., for the purchase and the associated professional development of SFS-PAC, Food Service, Sanitation, and Safety Program to be conducted in various Cleveland municipal school buildings in an amount not to exceed $132,775, and declare that Innovative Solutions Groups, Inc. and proprietary and sole source, are proprietary and sole source. With an approval of this resolution, the School Nutrition Department will use Innovative Solutions Group as a sole source, as they are the only company that can provide the following service, encompassing the program package to include pre-measured cleaning solutions, on-site training, signage, and being a trusted repeat customer. CMSD Nutrition Services will ensure consistency, accuracy, and streamline ease of usage in all sites across the district.
Any questions from board members on the operations resolutions? Okay, Dr. Morgan.
All right, next we have 6 academic resolutions. 8.01, adopting an online day plan for making up hours when it is necessary to close CMSD schools for the 25-26 school year. Ohio Revised Code, Section 3313.482 now requires boards of education no later than August 1 of each school year to adopt a plan to provide via online delivery, instruction via online delivery in order to make up hours up to a maximum number of hours equivalent to 3 school days when it is necessary to close schools for disease, epidemic, hazardous weather conditions, law enforcement emergencies, and operability of school buses or other equipment necessary to school operations, damage to a school building, or other temporary circumstances due to failure rendering a school building unfit for use. The online day plan must include the written consent of the school district's teachers union. Our school district and the Cleveland Teachers Union have had discussions on the proposed online day plan and have entered into a memorandum of understanding whereby the CTU has expressed its consent to the plan as required by state law. With this resolution, our board will be adopting the proposed online day plan for the 25-26 school year, which is attached to the resolution as Exhibit A in advance of the August 1 deadline. 8.02, renewing the sponsorship contract of 1 community school and amending and restating the sponsorship of contracts of 2 community schools sponsored by the Cleveland Municipal School District. And I'm going to invite Matt Rado up, who will talk about these resolutions, but it's 8.02 through 8.04. So I'll read each of the resolutions, and then Matt, you can go into your presentation. So I've read 8.02. 8.03 is adopting an agreement with the intergenerational school and nonprofit community school established under Ohio Revised Code Chapter 3314, whereby the Cleveland Municipal School District and the community school endorse each other's programs. 8.04, authorizing the mutual rescission of community school sponsorship contracts between the Cleveland Municipal School District and 2 sponsored community schools. At this time, we'll have Matt come up to explain each of those resolutions.
Thank you. Dr. Morgan, Chair Ellicott, thank you for having me tonight. As Dr. Morgan said, there's 3 different charter office resolutions for this month. So the first one, 8.02, is approving some contract modifications to all of the school contracts. 8.04, if you haven't heard the term rescission before, if you're not a lawyer, 8.04 is rescinding the contracts of schools that we no longer need contracts for due to the resolution before that. And then 8.03 is the one approving a new partner charter school. And I'm going to briefly give some context for these resolutions too. I also want to recognize that we have Brooke King here, who's the Executive Director of Intergenerational Schools. So if you get any tough questions that are too hard for me, I will pass them on to her about that one. I do want to provide, like I said, some quick refreshers just on the district's work, because I know we've had a number of new board members that have joined since I was here last. The district, as a charter sponsor, is something called an authorizer, and essentially what that is it means that we are one of the entities that the state allows to make decisions about opening new charter schools. We're responsible for setting academic and operational expectations in the contract, so you'll see that that's part of those contracts on the first resolution. Monitoring and overseeing school performance, reviewing school finances, ensuring issues of concern are addressed, and then deciding whether schools should be able to continue to operate when their contracts expire. Charter schools are public schools that are independent from school districts, so they have their own boards. So I get to go to all their board meetings too every year. And they have the freedom to make their own staffing decisions. They have some more flexibility than district schools do in terms of who they can hire. They have their own budgeting process. They set their own mission, vision, calendar, school day, and instructional plan. If you're wondering where sort of this came from, it essentially was something that was written in as part of the Cleveland Plan. So the first pillar of the Cleveland Plan says that we should have a goal of increasing the number of students that are attending high quality schools, both district and charter. And so we have leverage as a sponsor to do that by approving schools that we think are going to be high quality schools, by providing quality assistance to the schools that we sponsor, and by making those high stakes decisions around whether schools should continue to stay open, whether they met the terms of their contract. So now that I got that out of the way, I just want to briefly talk a little bit about the 3 resolutions. So first, for the school contract resolution, essentially, for those of you that have been on the board for a while, you've seen that we essentially do this every year. We're required, so obviously we have changes to state and federal law that happen all the time, and it's a requirement from the state's sponsor evaluation rubric that every year that we do a review of these contracts. The updates, of course, include a number of changes to the Ohio Revised Code references. So there are a lot of Ohio Revised Code references in the contracts, and obviously we see that there's new laws every year, so we have to update those. This year we're adding some new language for the case of when we have schools that have multiple locations, and I'm going to talk more about why that's relevant in a second. And then also updating attachments. So there's different attachments that we keep sort of on file that cover different things that are required to be in there. So we have 3 different school contract exhibits that you'll see, and for 2 of those 3, the length of those contracts isn't being changed. So essentially what we're doing is amending and restating. So it's the whole contract, but the term is the same as it was when we looked at it last time. I want to talk more about that question around the location updates. So there are some updates to these contracts compared to the previous ones because of mergers. So Breakthrough Schools proposed to us mergers of the 4 schools of theirs that we sponsor into 2 schools. These mergers align with work that they have done over the years in terms of simplifying their own board governance. So, you know, what we call Breakthrough essentially used to be 3 different boards actually, and they have gone down to 1 over the years. They've also simplified sort of their staffing. So rather than having each school have its own educational model, they've simplified that to now where it's essentially 1. And there also are a number of mergers that they've asked us to approve over the years. So with this change, it does align with those past practices. It also has the benefit of increasing the number of students that are eligible for certain state funding. So there's 2 citizen schools. They would both operate under the Citizen Southeast contract. There's 2 prep schools. Those would both operate under the Village Prep Cliff contracts. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there's another resolution that we have rescinding those Willard and East contracts since they're no longer needed. For the school that the board, so in December we had a renewal vote by the board for Citizens Academy Southeast. This is one that the contract is being extended, and it's being extended for 3 years with the possibility of 2 annual automatic 1-year extensions. And the reason that we did this was because we are still looking at, when you look at a 5-year contract term backwards, we still have missing data due to the pandemic and state accountability pauses that happened. And so we created the structure that we used last year for schools that were up for renewal, so we had to make that renewal decision, but we didn't have as much data to use. And so this creates the ability to have extensions, but we still have a focus on ensuring that they continue to be high quality academically. So for the partnership resolution, so this is for 8.03. This is approving a new partnership agreement with 8.0 with the intergenerational school. So this also goes back to the Cleveland. So this legal concept of district charter partnership was created as a result of the Cleveland Plan legislation. And so essentially it is schools that are sponsored by the district, so those schools that we were just talking about that we're approving sponsorship contracts for, or schools that we sign partnership agreements with, and that's the category that this resolution is in. All of these partner schools have access. So we just saw that we had a finance resolution on approving levy distributions. All of these partner schools have access to a pool of money that was set aside as a part of those levies, all the levies since 2012, for just those partner schools. So in addition to that sharing of levy funds, there's also the fact that all of those schools agree to include their state test results in our state report card. So you know, internally, when we have conversations about our data, you'll be seeing CMSD data. After the state report card comes out, if you go on the website and look up CMSD, it will include those charter schools by default because all of those schools agreed to include that data. I included these 3 concepts just because these were things that were emphasized when the Cleveland Plan was created, and they're part of what we look at when we do the partnership application process. I do want to flag that in 2018, the board adopted some strict new metrics around achievement and residency for partners and prospective partners. And so there were 3 partners that we did not renew in 2023, June 2023, because of that. And there's one that I'm going to briefly mention soon that is not being renewed this year for the same reason. These criteria don't apply to sponsored schools, which are automatically partners like we saw in the last slide under state law, but they are actually still relevant to those sponsored schools for the purposes of Say Yes eligibility. I included the list for reference of the current partners, so this does not include the sponsored schools. And I want to comment just briefly for your awareness on Stepstone Academy, the one I said that is not being renewed as a part of this resolution. So Stepstone, last year the board voted to give them a one-year agreement until we got new state report card data. So that came out last September. Once that data came out, staff reviewed it against the academic criteria and saw that they don't meet it, and so they're not eligible for another agreement. And we notified them of that in December after we had all the data and did that analysis. So except for that agreement that expires June 30th this year, the rest expired June 30th of next year. And then just lastly, in terms of like how we made this recommendation for approving a partnership with the intergenerational school, there was a partnership application process that we started in the spring. All of the schools that met those criteria that I just talked about around CMSD student residency and academic achievement were invited to apply. There was a district team that we assembled that reviewed those submissions against the rubric, and the school that achieved the minimum and is being recommended is the intergenerational school. Just for some background, the intergenerational school has been around for a long time and has traditionally been very high performing. They did not have issues, they were a partner previously, they did not have issues around academics, but they were under the residency requirement. So once we adopted that new criteria in 2018, they were under the residency number, and over the years recently since COVID, they've kind of had a shift in their population to where now they're back over that 80%. And like I said before, I want to thank Brooke King for being here. So if you have a question about the intergenerational school or their partnership with the district over the years, she can help with that as well. So for them, we're recommending a one-year partnership agreement, and the reason that is that then aligns their partnership agreement with the others that I mentioned that all expire. So you should expect sometime again next year before June 30th. I can't say whether we will do a new partnership application process. We'll have to discuss that, but you will have to see a resolution that says who is eligible for another agreement based on do they meet that criteria that I referenced around district student enrollment and academic achievement. Any questions about any of these resolutions?
Dr. Sridhar.
So I apologize I was trying to find this thing and I couldn't. You know the question I'm going to ask. Last year, there was a school that we looked, 2 years ago, there was a school that we looked at. And is that one of the schools that is merging with another?
It is.
It was a citizenship,
it
was Southeast, was it not?
It's Citizens Leadership East.
East, okay.
That contract would no longer exist under these, based on these resolutions tonight. It would be merged under the Citizens Southeast contract.
Okay, thank you.
For anyone who is wondering where the deck is, it is under 8.02 in for docs.
Sorry, yeah.
No problem.
Okay, thank you.
8.05, amending the Cleveland Municipal School District 2025-26 school year calendar regarding starting and ending times for the school day at the Cleveland High School for Digital Arts and Natividad Pagan International Newcomers Academy. On April 29, 2025, the board adopted the 25-26 school year calendar, which included starting and ending times for the school day at each of the district schools. With this resolution, the board will be amending the start and ending times to reflect the following changes to two schools: Cleveland High School for Digital Arts, changing the school day hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. From 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. to 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and Natividad Pagan International's Newcomers Academy, removing the 09 period. And I believe it's actually the inverse, the way it should be. So I think it's going from 9 to 3:30 and to 9 to 3. But we'll make sure we have that. Oh, it is the other way around? Okay, so it is correct. From 9 to 3 to 9 to 3:30 p.m. for Cleveland High School Digital Arts, and then Natividad Pagan International Newcomers Academy, removing the 09 period. 8.06, authorizing the Cleveland Municipal School District to enter into an agreement with the Educational Service Center of of the Western Reserves as provided by the Ohio Revised School Code 3313.8.45. With this resolution, the board will be authorizing the school district to again enter into a service agreement with the Educational Services Center of the Western Reserve for services provided to students in the Passport program at the Metzenbaum Center for the 25-26 school year. This is a continuation of services that the Education Service Centers of Western Reserve provided for the 24-25 school year.
Any questions from board members on the academic resolutions? Okay.
Okay, and we're almost there. We have 3 IT resolutions, and then we'll have our excellence in culture resolutions. 9.01, authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to enter into an agreement with Computer Aid, Inc., the CAI, for various information technology support services in a 5-year contract with an annual amount not to exceed $6.7 million. This resolution will renew the CAI contract for 5 years, including an initial 3 years with 2 additional optional years. CAI has been an outstanding and flexible partner for the 4 years. They have worked hard to help CMSD build the IT Connect brand, representing the commercialized quality delivery of our IT products and services to students, family, and staff. CAI's original contract was proposed and awarded in July 2021 through CMSD's request for proposals process to provide IT service desk and end-user support services, field support valued at $5,678,100 annually. Right now we have Janelle Green, who's on our IT team, one of our executive directors on our IT team, who will give a little bit more information about this contract and also just the savings that we have by outsourcing some of it versus doing it in-house. And do you? Yeah. Okay, I'll hold on one moment. I think he's going to get your mic together. This is our last presentation.
Testing. Can you hear me? I have a presentation.
So, good evening. I'm Janelle Green, Executive Director of IT Strategy, Execution, and Governance here at CMSD. So I'm going to talk about the CAI contract. They've been with us for a number of years. For the executive summary, we're going to talk about some of the services that they provide. So they do provide an IT service desk. So we have a phone number that folks can call. It's 24/7 operations that will allow families and staff to get support for IT services. We also have our device one-to-one program. So we do provide devices for both students and staff. So the 34,000 students plus the 7,000 staff members do get a device that we support. Also, our end-user support services. So we have field techs that are deployed to all of the buildings that are in the district, inclusive of our administrative buildings, as well as our IT Connect Center, which is a walk-in service center that's located at the Arnold Pinckney East Professional Center building, where you can walk in and get services throughout the business day. So this is a cost comparison summary that I proposed a couple of months ago to look at the services that CAI provides as opposed to if we were to contract those services directly ourselves. So the cost savings is about $1.1 million. So outside of the core services that are listed in the contract, specifically, they do provide a CTE specialist. So there's one FTE provided to support the CTE program throughout the district, as well as another FTE to support the early childhood initiative that is in the district. Also, they provide 3 vans for us to utilize to deliver the goods throughout the district. Also, the maintenance and support of those vans is included in the contract. There's also miscellaneous services they provide. So there's Power BI support, there's training, there's some help desk technologies called Talk Desk that kind of administers the service desk. Also uniform support for all of the field techs, as well as toolkits and IDLE training, which is a foundation for internet and IT support services. It's a training and foundational program. So with all of those services combined, it's about a $1.1 million savings if we go with CAI versus trying to do this in-house. And that's also not inclusive of any of the overhead costs of trying to recruit staff throughout the year.
Okay, excuse me one moment, Executive Director Green. For those who want to follow along, this is under Resolution 9.01, and it's the customer support modeling link. So that way you can see what Executive Director Green is sharing. Continue.
On the next slide, it's kind of broken down from an FTE perspective, what are the estimated costs. I did look up what the estimated services would cost from the Department of Labor to kind of spell it out what comparison is. And I'll open it up to any questions if you have lots of time.
I have a question. Thank you for that report, and I think this is a terrific service that we provide. Do we keep track of the usage of it, utilization?
Yes, so we do that through our IT Connect, which are our ticket support tickets. So if anybody calls in, it goes into our ticketing system. As our field tech support people in the buildings, they also put the tickets into our ticketing system, as well as those that come into our IT Connect Center. So we track these things through our ticketing system, and we do a monthly report and meeting with CAI to look at if they met our service level agreements, if there's any issues. So we do look at this data regularly.
And do we advertise it among the students and faculty?
We do. So we have our support number. It's plastered on our vans also. So we also did provide stickers and magnets for everybody also to advertise that. And it's on our website as well.
Are we finding that the utilization has increased over time?
So yes and no. So I say that because one, we've stepped up our services so that way there's no incident tickets where people have issues. But that also comes with regular support that happens at the buildings, making sure that we resolve things immediately versus them trying to call in and us providing that on-site support. Thank you. So us providing that on-site support helps us decrease tickets, but also increase support at the buildings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. 9.02, authorizing a one-year renewal of the Microsoft enrollment for the Education Solutions, that's EES, agreement for software and services in the amount not to exceed $1,536,000. This resolution renews the current Microsoft Enrollment for Education Solutions agreement, which expires June 30th, 2025, for one additional year. This agreement has been in effect since July 1, 2016. The one-year cost is not to exceed $1,536,000. The agreement has been a catalyst for the empowerment within our district, equipping our employees and students with a diverse array of Microsoft productivity tools. These tools, including word processing, email, collaboration, virtual meetings, remote learning, document storage, business analytics, and general artificial intelligence applications, have significantly enhanced our capabilities. 9.03, authorizing the CEO to renew the Workday Master Subscription Agreement in conjunction with Order Form 00504-164.0, the district's enterprise resource planning system, ERP, for talent, finance, payroll, and procurement for a 5-year term not to exceed $11.5 million. This resolution renews the current 5-year Workday software subscription agreement, which expires June 30th, 2025. This agreement has been in effect since June 2015 and is renewed every 5 years. The 5-year cost is $11.5 million. Workday is the district's enterprise resource planning system, which supports core central office administrative functions, which include human resources management, recruitment, payroll, processing, procurement, accounts payable, and financial reporting. Workday is deeply embedded in CMSD's core administrative operations.
Any questions, any more questions on the IT resolutions? Mr. Briggs?
I have a procedural question and probably a rhetorical question. In light of the fact that all of this information is published prior to our meeting, and in light of the fact that I'm sure all the board members read through this, is it a statutory requirement that we go through this and read everything like we did tonight?
Mr. Briggs, no, it's not, but we are following our current procedure until we make the transition in the fall, which is just one more meeting, and then we will be transitioning to a consent agenda. So thank you for asking. I was planning to announce that at the end of the meeting. I personally have always been a lover of reading, but I never go home and read after the board business meeting for fun, so.
Chair Ellicott, I have a
Yes.
question about this resolution, the Microsoft resolution in particular. One which I think is, might just be the function of how it's displaying on my computer, the quotes and things like that, and I'm really just making a note for anybody in the public who wants to look at them. Some of the tables are getting cut off, so if you could just make sure to have your team look at that and update the document before the business meeting, that'll be great. The other question, the rate that we're negotiating is based on 7,700 staff and educator thing, and then 50,000 students. Is that, clearly that's more than what we have in the district. Is there any more juice that can be got out of this contract by perhaps reducing that?
Do you have information on that?
I do. So we look at this contract and review it annually. So we look at the active number of users. So when we are looking at the number of staff members, the 7,700 reflects what is currently active plus, plus or minus who we think will come on in the year. So roughly we have 7,400 users. So also note within that there's contractors that require email addresses and access to, so within that. From the 50,000 student perspective, those are free. So they give us those, because our population decreases throughout the year. Plus, we often let the seniors hold on to their email address for another year after their graduation. So it gives us room to allow people to have access to their email addresses. So we do look at this every year to make sure we have it right sized.
So specifically, it does not cost the district more money to have 50,000 active or potentially up to 50,000 active student licenses than if we did for 35,000.
Correct.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we had to give them Bill Gates.
Okay, Dr. Morgan.
All right. And Mr. Briggs, you were just teeing up our lovely consent agenda, so becoming, and new procedures for our board meetings. And finally, we're at our excellence in culture resolutions. So we have 7 of these. 10.01, authorizing the employment of teaching, non-teaching, and school-based administrative staff. There's a routine monthly resolution authorizing a total of 6 new hires this month. The details which are set forth in Exhibit A attached to the resolution. 10.02, authorizing the reclassification of employees. There's a routine monthly resolution authorizing the reclassification of a total of 3 employees this month. The details which are set forth in Exhibit A attached to the resolution. 10.03, authorizing the retirements, resignations, and other separations of employees. There's a routine monthly resolution accepting a total of 20 separations of employees this month, the details which are set forth in Exhibit A attached to the resolution. 10.04, authorizing the issuance of limited contracts for differential positions and the payment of additional earned compensation to employees earned. There's a routine monthly resolution authorizing limited contracts for differential and payment of additional compensation to a total of 334 employees this month, the details which are set forth in Exhibit A attached to the resolution. 10.05, authorizing the filing of complaints with the Ohio Board of Education against any Cleveland Municipal School District teacher, principal, or assistant principal who terminates their employment contract after July 10th, 2025, consistent with the provisions of Ohio Revised Code, sections 3319.15 and 3319.09. With this resolution, the board will give authority to the CEO at his discretion to file a complaint with the Ohio Board of Education to suspend the license of any teacher, assistant principal, or principal who submits a separation letter after July 10th, 2025. This is also routine every year, a consistent resolution. 10.06, adopting a differentiated salary schedule for principals and assistant principals of the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. This is the annual adoption of the principal and assistant principal differentiated salary schedule as required by House Bill 525, codified in ORC Section 3311.78. The salary schedule reflects the 2% increase provided to district employees for the 25-26 school year.
Any questions on these resolutions? All right, that concludes the presentations of the resolutions on tonight's agenda. As I said, we will be transitioning to a consent agenda next school year. I know some people probably stream the board work session to help their children fall asleep or things like that, and they may miss us. Just saying. Is there any old business?
Not old business, Chair
Is it
Ellicott.
new business then?
No, I want to respond to your comment.
Oh, okay.
I want to I hope that at our next meeting, which will be our last meeting of this school year, we spend a little bit of time explaining what a consent agenda means to the community, because the community is used to hearing these resolutions read. And we as a board have spent a lot of time this year, along with the leadership, in talking about how we will restructure our meetings, so that our meetings times are more focused on student outcomes. But at the same time, many of the items that come in these resolutions are important for the community to see. And one of the key differences that we will make is the timing of when these materials will be made available on board docs. So I think it'll be nice for the community for us to spend some time at the business meeting just to talk about it.
It would be indeed nice, Dr. Sridhar, but it may happen in the summer and in the beginning of the school year, most likely not at the next board business meeting.
Before we go to consent agenda, or maybe at the first meeting.
Absolutely, and that is why we are not implementing it quickly. We will have a communications plan. Folks may remember how much effort went into simply preparing the community for the change in public comment sign up, and me and Dr. Morgan recording videos and things like that. So we certainly want to make sure that people understand the transition. It also requires a change in the work time of the CEO staff and the way that they prepare for the meeting, as well as the board's preparation for the meeting, so that board members can have adequate time to pull items out of the consent agenda and get answers, and that those answers are shared with the public. So thank you for that question. Is there any new business? Ms. LeBron?
Thank you, Chair Ellicott. As the trustee for the Ohio School Boards Association, I just want to provide an update from Saturday's meeting. On Saturday, June 7th, the Executive Committee and the Board of Trustees met and voted to approve Sarah C. Clark as the Interim Chief Executive Officer of OSBA. Sarah will officially begin her term as Interim CEO on July 1st, continuing through August 31st, and that is the timeline in which they hope to have a new CEO selected. During this period, she will also maintain her responsibilities as Chief Legal Counsel. Sarah has expressed no intention of being a candidate for the permanent CEO position and plans to return to her previous role once the interim period concludes. That is my update.
Thank you, Ms. LeBron. Any other new business? All right. The next regular board meeting will be a board business meeting on Tuesday, June 24th at 6:30 p.m. at the new Joseph Gallagher High School, or school, not high school, 6601 Franklin Boulevard. Please note that this board meeting was originally scheduled to be at Max Hayes High School, but the location has been changed. The chair will now entertain a motion that the board enter into executive session for the purpose of considering the appointment and employment of public employees and officials, preparing for negotiations with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment, and conferring with attorneys concerning disputes involving the Board of Education that are the subject of pending or imminent court action.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Stockdale, please call the roll.
Ms. Ellicott?
Yes.
Mr. Billups?
Yes.
Mr. Briggs?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Pastor Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. LeBron?
Yes.
Mrs. Peak?
Yes.
Dr. Sridhar?
Yes.
Motion passes with 8 votes.
Thank you. The board will now move into executive session. Following executive session, the board will return to this room to briefly conduct some further business.
Your lettuce is popping.
Smile right here. Okay, so here's how we're gonna do
But the good thing about growing the basil like that,
Hi, I'm Darielle Snipes, and I'm here at Orchard STEAM School, and today we'll be taking a look at the ribbon dancing team as they prepare to perform at a school-wide event. And we are here with Felicia Kelly, who is the 5Cs coordinator and the ribbon dancers coach, and behind us, we have the ribbon dancers. So just tell me, how did you get this program started here at Orchard STEM?
Well, I did a praise dance for my mom for Mother's Day, and I used a ribbon. And I brought the ribbon in to demonstrate part of what we call demonstration of learning. And I brought it into the ribbon dance to the school, and the ribbon dancers that are now ribbon dancers loved it then and asked me, can we do the same thing? And I said, of course. And so I bought some ribbons, and we started practicing, and the team was created.
But you have told me that it has exploded. So many kids want to be a part of it now. So what is the age range of your ribbon dancers?
So we have first grade all the way up to sixth grade.
Nice. And
yes.
So while dancing is beautiful, but you are here to instill life lessons into these kings and queens. Can you tell me about it?
Yes, absolutely. And they will tell you my first rule of thumb is positive energy. I have it all over the media center here, and they know that we are about uplifting each other, about encouraging each other, about helping each other. So those are kind of the life lessons that I'm trying to instill so that they don't just incorporate it here in the first grade, second grade, middle school, high school. These are lessons that I try to teach them for life. How to be kind to each other, how to treat each other, how to be sensitive to different situations that might come up.
So this is a STEAM school.
Yes.
So, and even though you're doing dance, which is arts, which is part of STEAM, you're also incorporating some other things. Can you talk about some of the things that you're trying to teach them as well when it comes to STEAM and dancing?
Okay, so the t-shirts that they're wearing today, they actually help make. We have Cricut machines, we have silhouette machines, and heat transfer paper to actually make the t-shirts, so that the t-shirts that they're wearing, they made them. And also 3D machines, we have laser cutters, we have, actually, if you don't mind me stepping off camera a little bit, we have the capability of making mugs, and they help to design their own character on my mug, and it says, "I love my ribbon dancers," and each ribbon dancer picked out their design, and we made this mug for me.
Wonderful. I'm joined now with Mila and Paige. What grade are you in, Paige?
3rd.
And what grade are you in?
6th.
And tell me, why did you guys want to join the ribbon dancers?
So I can learn new things.
What about you?
Because I always wanted to dance in a group, so I always found passion for Miss Kelly's moves, and that's why I joined ribbon dance.
So besides dancing, what else have you learned? I know she talks about, life lessons. So tell me what life lessons you have learned.
I've learned to work with a team, not by yourself, and sometimes you just have to work together so you can make things happen.
Right, you're right. And what about you? What lesson have you learned?
I learned how to collaborate with my team and have teamwork, and when somebody's doing something, I have to encourage them.
Right, and some of the collaboration you guys have done is you had some art students paint this for you guys for your performance. Just talk about how you like performing in front of others and showing your other students what you've learned and show the beautiful dances that you've learned.
I enjoyed a lot because it's got me not to be scared when people are watching, so I'm not shy anymore like I used to. And now I talk loud, I'm just loud, all vibes, and when we perform, it makes me feel great because I show myself.
For our first middle school CTE fair. So these students are engaging with STEM ideas, they're doing some design work with 3D printing, they're doing a lot of building with Legos and with wood, and today they're here to show off those projects that they've designed, and they're also here to learn about all of the CTE pathways that we offer at the high school level.
Middle schoolers that come in here is way more easy and really beneficial because they could see their options, so it opened their mind and opened their perspective, so they could decide what they're gonna choose.
There's that initial attention getter. We're gonna get you over to our booth because we have a fun or exciting game and something that you can do. But ultimately, we're gonna show you how you actually get to do that every single day at our school. And here's what you also get with it, a certification that's gonna make you money after you graduate. So it's really exciting.
I went to the veterinarian place and I saw the chinchilla and I was like, oh, she's so adorable. I find animals very intriguing. I wanted to go to the architecture one because I'm figuring out what I'm going to do when I'm grown up, and I think I'm going to be an architect.
The career pathways that are available in a variety of our high schools in the Cleveland area are outstanding. And so getting a first-hand chance to look at what some of those opportunities and work environments lead to are beneficial when you get to see them in a place like this.
Reading. Who loves to read? Raise your hand. I love to read too. Okay, let's go. Let's go.
I see paraprofessionals making a difference every single day. The minute they walk in the door with smiles on their face, they're the first people here greeting our scholars, always offering a friendly hello, hands-on work with these kids all day long.
And they just want all of our students to succeed and enjoy school.
My talent is observing and then applying. So a lot of times in the beginning of the school year, I would observe more, see what they like, see what interests them, or seeing what methods help them calm down or get them to actually learn, like whether it's occupational learning or academically learning.
Listening, being patient, being focused on what the children have to say and responding back to them.
There's like a lot of things I didn't know, like from different cultures. Like I've been learning a lot from them. Like there's a lot of things I don't even know from other countries that I've been learning. Every single day I'm learning something with them.
It just feels really good to be part of a team. And you never know, like I said, you might be doing one thing one day and one thing the next, but it all ends up being part of the, like, it takes a village kind of outlook, and it just feels good to be part of a team.
Thank you, Paras.
Thank you, Paras.
Thank you, Paras.
Thank you, Paras.
Thank you, Paras. I love you.
Welcome to Tremont Montessori.
Accomplishing this accreditation, we are the first public elementary Montessori school in the state of Ohio to get this accreditation, the American Montessori Society accreditation. We learned on Valentine's Day, actually, great Valentine's Day, that we were approved as an accredited school. Many private schools that have it, it's considered the gold standard for Montessori. It's a platinum standard for public Montessori. Basically, there are 5 core components that we have to meet. You have teachers who are credentialed at the grade band that they teach, that you have the multi-age that are 3-year cycles, that you have materials, the proper Montessori materials, that you have an uninterrupted work cycle of 2.5 to 3 hours, and that you have that it's child-focused in how you approach the work that you're doing. It's based on the theory that it's a human development model. Instead of just an academic, it's the whole child, it's the whole person. And that it's 6-year cycles of how children grow into the human beings they're becoming. And so education should really revolve around the developmental sensitivities and needs, excitements of that age in order to spark and keep their learning going. For me, I really believe, having been in private and charter schools, that our children deserve what private school children are getting. That it doesn't matter what their economic, human development is human development. I have teachers here who've been at this for 20 years, 25 years, 26 years, keeping Montessori alive, and they get to be a part of celebrating that we're recognized nationally, that what they do is amazing. So it's a win for everybody.
You go to the website, you type in the access code, and you're in. Your kids' pictures are there, and you could easily, I have kids at 2 different schools, you can easily switch from school to school and keep up on top of it.
Everything's right there. Like, everybody always has their phone with them, so you can easily access it to your phone.
It's a relief for me knowing that my child has the best chance that they can, knowing every day they wake up, they can go to school and, take advantage of the day.
I would do it all over again for anybody. Hi, I'm Trisha Page, and I'm a 1st grade teacher at Andrew J. Rickoff. I had a couple students that were having lunch in the classroom with me that day. I was sitting at my table, like here in the back of the room, and her back was toward me this way.
So when I was eating my taco, I tried to dip my other one in the meat and cheese, but when it went to my throat, I choked on it.
She was choking, and she was making the choking. Her hands were on her throat, and there was no sound whatsoever. I got up, ran to her, told the other teacher to go run and get the nurse. She was sitting in her seat, so
when she told me to get up, my ears, they did this.
I went underneath of her armpits here. I picked her up, I stood her up, and I started doing the Heimlich on her. And she was silent for a minute, and it was really scary. I don't know who was more scared, if she was more scared or if I was more scared. But eventually she started crying and making sound.
She deserves a reward. Thank you for saving my life.
You're welcome. And I would do it all over again.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, no beeping, hold that up.
When the kids walk through the door, there's a personal relationship here. So immediately they have a connection with an adult as soon as they've entered the building.
Typical day at James Ford Rhodes is being active with the kids, trying to be proactive with the kids before it becomes reactive.
Sometimes we have to stop and counsel or assist a student that might be going through something when they came in this morning.
I greet the students, make sure the hall is clear, interact, ask them how their day was going, walk through, interact with the parents, the community, the mailman, the neighbors across the street. They familiar with me because I'm outside, I'm greeting with them.
I try to walk around, try to help the kids. I'm not trying to police them as a security officer. Can't do that. You try to help them in every way possible, and that's what I do. I'm a resource for them.
Going through the detectives, in the long run, I hear them say, boy, if it wasn't for y'all doing that, this, that, and that. So they really do like that detective, but just knowing that you in the halls.
And the students see that, and they see how I, if they beep or they see how I go through their bags, I don't play, so they feel safe. They be like, oh, there go Miss Campbell, Miss Campbell. When they fear or something, they come straight, Miss Campbell, so-and-so, and I'll be like, okay. So that makes me feel that, they see that I'm serious about my job,
I have noticed if we're referencing the phone collection, a lot of the students are interacting more with one another instead of just being stuck on their phones. They've started to build relationships with one another and do different things that last year and the year before that we weren't actually noticing anymore.
Especially with how we do the yonder cases, bringing in, securing book bags, making sure that no items or weapons are brought into school. I think it makes students and scholars feel much more comfortable, much more safe.
When the kids come through, they understand there are necessary things that have to happen, but when the officers treat them in that way, like human beings, and make them feel special, they're not thinking so much about those things. They're thinking about the relationship they're building. It's the most important thing for everyone in a building, is that relationship you have with kids, and if it's positive, usually you're going to get positive results. Not all the time, but more often than not.
I'm here at work offering positive energy. Transporting scholars is important for the education, the future. They are our future, to make sure that you got every children accounted for every day, because the children are counting on you.
My typical day looks like picking up children, sometimes handling field trips, middays, monitoring behavior. It's about ensuring children access to education, promoting academics and personal development, and creating a safe and more equitable learning environment.
My training and support was excellent. I learned so many things about the city of Cleveland that I didn't know, and I've been here all my life. That's why I'm here 33 plus years. One of the best things about this job is the flexibility.
So I got my time with my family. I spend more time now with my family and my friends, and I got my weekend off.
It allows you to go to doctor's appointments. If you want to go to school, it allows you that downtime. We have that downtime where you can go to school, you can go grocery shopping.
I wish more people would know about the benefits, the potential of moving through the company. That's always a plus. And the money is very good. You can make good money.
Make a difference. Apply today.
Make a difference. Apply today.
Make a difference. Apply today.
So we are at Rock Your World with STEAM, amazing partnership that our district CMSD has with the Great Lakes Science Center, as well as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it's just amazing seeing all of our scholars. We have parents, educators out here. It's a great day.
For an event like Rock Your World with STEAM, this is really the culmination of a year of work for our students. Some of the work that you'll see, for example, in the art tent, are projects that students have been working on since the beginning of the year. These ensembles begin rehearsing early in the year. and rehearse throughout the year. Most of the bands actually perform twice per year as full ensembles for All City. They do the winter concert and then they perform here. So quite a bit of work. If I were to tally the hours, incalculable.
So you might notice my outfit's a little different this year because we had a lot of rain today. But yeah, I've been slogging around looking at the different performances. The orchestra, the choirs have been downstairs to see all the wonderful STEM displays. We also have our FACE tent, which is our family and community engagement tent, where we have partners like College Now and Digital C and Starting Point and Say Yes, sharing information, the Greater Cleveland Neighborhood Association as well as the City of Cleveland, sharing information about summer programming. And then our office, our department, provided free summer learning activities for students so that we can keep them from sliding. You know, we want to prevent that summer slide and encourage families to read to their children, make sure they're reading, and engaging in different activities throughout the summer. So when they come back to school in the fall, they're ready. We just got to keep rocking it. We rock it rain or shine every year.
The winner of the first annual Rise Pitch competition is, drum roll please, Riverside! Rise was birthed out of an opportunity that we thought was very, very important for us to be able to give students opportunity to have their voices centered. So we asked them a question. The question is, if you could solve a problem in your community with unlimited resources, how would you do it?
I'm 13 years old in the 7th grade at Elmira Elementary, and our group is excited to be here today to share our opportunity for action. I feel like that our gaming lab will help a lot of students because of these new technology industries that are coming from these foreign countries, which can excel our students and improvise them and get them set for life.
As a basketball player myself, sports helped me with a lot of teamwork, leadership, and even helped me with my mental health. So for me, I'm just asking, can we get more opportunities for sports all around the other school year?
We also wanted to make sure our ideas weren't just meaningful, but doable. We're excited to introduce a free roll of things we think that can make Riverside better right away.
Our goal is to think big for our classmates, our teachers, and our whole school.
Would you please go ahead and rewrite the numbers in your notebook so you have them? -1, 5.
I wanted to make sure that my students used education as a powerful tool, not just to get smart, but to change their environment. I have always believed in constructivist knowledge, so instead of me just giving kids information and them soaking it in, we've seen that that doesn't work with students very well. I have given them the tools to construct their learning. They're standing at the boards, they're talking to each other, they're coming up with more than one way to solve a problem. And I think that helps with the different learning styles because they're not just sitting, reading and writing. They're verbally communicating, they're talking to other people, they're collaborating not only with their team, but they can go check their answers at another board if they need to. So those things are included in those different learning styles. So I do try to do like weekly rewards where I acknowledge kids who've done everything that they're supposed to. And so kids who complete all of their tasks, they are recognized. And every day I'll do a shout out for kids who've been on their A game.
The board is now back in public session. The chair will now entertain a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the 2-day suspension of a non-teaching employee.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Dr. Morgan, any explanation on this resolution?
This resolution is to authorize the 2-day suspension of a non-teaching employee for violation of district policies, procedures, and rules.
Any discussion from board members? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Stockdale, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Ellicott?
Yes.
Mr. Billups?
Yes.
Mr. Briggs?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Pastor Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. LeBron?
Yes.
Mrs. Peak?
Yes.
Dr. Sridhar?
Yes.
Motion passes with 8 votes.
The resolution passes. The chair will now entertain a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the one-day suspension of a school-based administrator.
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Morgan, any explanation on this resolution?
This resolution is to authorize the one-day suspension of a school-based administrator for violation of district policies, procedures, and rules.
Thank you. Any discussion from board members? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Stockdale, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Ellicott?
Yes.
Mr. Billups?
Yes.
Mr. Briggs?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Pastor Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. LeBron?
Yes.
Mrs. Peak?
Yes.
Dr. Sridhar?
Yes.
Motion passes with 8 votes.
The chair will now, the resolution passes. The chair will now entertain a motion to adopt a resolution determining to not reemploy a limited contract teacher.
So moved.
Thank you. Dr. Morgan, any explanation?
This resolution is the second and final resolution that the board must adopt in order to non-renew the contract of a limited contract teacher. On May 13, 2025, the board took the first step in this process by adopting a resolution expressing its intent to non-renew the contract for this teacher.
Any discussion from board members? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Stockdale, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Ellicott?
Yes.
Mr. Billups?
Yes.
Mr. Briggs?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Pastor Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. LeBron?
Yes.
Mrs. Peak?
Yes.
Dr. Sridhar?
Yes.
Motion passes with 8 votes.
The resolution passes. The chair will now entertain a motion to adopt a resolution determining to not reemploy a limited contract coach.
So moved.
Second. Dr. Morgan, any explanation on this resolution?
This resolution is the second and final resolution that the board must adopt in order to non-renew the contract of a limited contract coach. On May 13, 2025, the board took the first step in this process by adopting a resolution expressing its intent to non-renew the contract for this coach.
Thank you. Any discussion from board members? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Stockdale, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Ellicott?
Yes.
Mr. Billups?
Yes.
Mr. Briggs?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Pastor Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. LeBron?
Yes.
Mrs. Peak?
Yes.
Dr. Sridhar?
Yes.
Motion passes with 8 votes.
Thank you. The resolution passes. The chair will now entertain a motion to adopt a resolution granting the Chief Executive Officer a salary increase of 5% effective June 21st, 2025.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. This is a resolution where the board will be exercising its discretion under the board's employment contract with the CEO to grant our CEO a 5% salary increase. Is there any discussion from board members? Thank you. Hearing no further discussion.
I just want to point out that this is the first salary increase that Dr. Morgan is receiving since he began his contract 2 years ago.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hearing no discussion, Mr. Stockdale, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Ellicott?
Yes.
Mr. Billups?
Yes.
Mr. Briggs?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Pastor Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. LeBron?
Yes.
Mrs. Peak?
Yes.
Dr. Sridhar?
Yes.
Motion passes with 8 votes.
Thank you. The resolution passes. And Dr. Morgan, thank you so much for your commendable service and leadership through many, many storms, budget deficit, and everything else that you have led the district through, in addition to your agreeing to not accept a raise in your first year as well. Is there any other new business? All right. There being no further business before the board, the chair will now entertain a motion to adjourn this board work session.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Hearing no objection, this meeting is adjourned. Have a good night.
Thank you.